Assalamualaikum. Hi everyone. The aim of this video is to provide an overview of inflation in Venezuela. Venezuela is a country in the northern coast of South America between Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Ocean. Venezuela was named by an Italian cartographer and navigator Vespucci Amengo of Venice, who arrived on the Venezuelan coast of an expedition under Alonso Ojeda in 1499. The state's homes in the region around Maracaibo Lake remind Amengo of Venice, Italy. Therefore, he named the place Little Venice or Venezuela, which translates to Venezuela in Spanish. Here I provide some fun facts. In recent years, Venezuela has struggled economically and suffered from hyperinflation. In 2020, a United Nations survey found that 9.3 million people did not have enough to eat. Here are some features of Venezuelan flag that consists three horizontal types of blue, red, and yellow. For yellow, it symbolizes that nation wealth. For blue, represent the Caribbean Sea, and for red, signifies and blood and courage of those who fought for independence. The flag also features 8 white stars on the blue stripe, representing the original province that declared independence, with the 8th star honoring the province in Guyana. This is a chart of Venezuelan population from 1950 to 2024. United Nations projections are also included through the year 2100. The population of Venezuela in 2021 was 28,199,867, a 1.02% decline from 2020. Population of Venezuela in 2022 was a 0.36% increase from 2021. The population of Venezuela in 2023 was a 1.9% increase from 2022. And for the current population of Venezuela in 2024 was a 1.93% increase from 2023.
Now, I will proceed to the next facts about Venezuela. Venezuela economy has long been dominated by the oil industry. It's truly fascinating to think about how such a small country has so much control over the global market. The state-owned company Petróleos de Venezuela has historically been at the center of the oil's production and exports. In the 1960s, Venezuela's economy was heavily reliant on oil export, which served as the primary source of the revenue. The substantial oil revenues Venezuela generated during this period allowed the government to extend loans to the neighboring countries, helping to build stronger regional ties. Venezuela's economy has had a wide ride over the years. From the 1940s to the 1970s, it enjoyed strong growth fueled by booming oil exports. Venezuela became one of the world's top oil exporters, and the oil revenues helped the country thrive globally.
Today I'm going to talk about type of inflation. Inflation refers to the general increase in price over time which reduces the purchasing power of money. But did you know there are different types of inflation? Let's break them down. The first type is demand pull inflation. This happens when demand for goods and service exceeds supply. For example, demand pull inflation in Venezuela primarily stems from the imbalance between the high demand for goods and services and their scarce supply. This is largely attributable to governmental policies and economic factors. Excessive governmental spending, particularly on social programs, without sufficient revenue of productivity to back it, has led to an increase in the money supply. Consequently, demand has risen. Concurrently, the country production capacity has declined due to a lack of investment, infrastructural issue, and an unfavorable business environment, resulting in a reduced supply of goods and services. The intersection of heightened demand and diminished supplies precipitates demand pull inflation, as consumers vie for the limited goods and service price escalate. Next, we have cost push inflation. This occurs when the cost of production rise, forcing business to increase their price. For example, cost push inflation in Venezuela arises when there is shortage of labor and raw materials. This leads to an increase in production costs and a decrease in aggregate supply, resulting in higher price level. Even with constant aggregate demand, the reduced availability of goods and service allows suppliers to charge higher price. In December 2020, Venezuela inflation rate reached a staggering 2,665%. This hyperinflation occurred as basic good price soared, driving overall inflation. Rising transportation costs due to fuel shortage also contribute to this. Understanding this type help us to make sense of the economic world around us.
Public policy refers to the system of laws, regulations, actions, and decisions established by governments to address societal issues and promote the welfare of citizens. We have two types about public policy, which is fiscal policy and monetary policy. The term fiscal policy describes how the government uses expenditures and taxes to influence the economy. The term monetary policy describes the measures implemented by the central bank or other financial authority of a nation to regulate and manage the flow of credit and money into the economy. In response to persistent economic challenges, Venezuela implemented a series of fiscal policy reforms aimed at addressing rampant inflation, bolstering government revenue, and fostering sustainable economic growth. These reforms encompass tax restructuring, subsidy reductions, and budgetary adjustments, each designed to stabilize the economy and create a more balanced fiscal environment. Number one, tax reforms. Venezuela implemented tax reforms to address inflation and increase government revenue. The measures included raising taxes on high income individuals and businesses, broadening the tax base, reducing tax evasion, and closing fiscal loopholes. Number two, budgetary adjustment. Venezuela addressed inflation through budgetary adjustment, prioritizing key sectors like healthcare, education, and transport while cutting unnecessary spending. The last one is subsidy reduction. Venezuela aimed to combat inflation by reducing subsidies on goods and services to ease fiscal pressure and limit excessive money creation. We will moving on to the next section about monetary policy. Monetary policy refers to the actions taken by a country's central bank or monetary authority to manage the economy by controlling the money supply, interest rate, and credit availability. We have 3 points about monetary policy. The first one is tightening monetary supply. The central bank used measures like open market operations to reduce liquidity and raise reserve requirements for commercial banks, limiting lending and controlling excess money circulation to stabilize prices. Second one is interest rate adjustment. By raising interest rates, Venezuela's central bank made borrowing more expensive, reducing spending and investment to ease inflationary pressures. Third one is foreign exchange control. Venezuela implemented foreign exchange controls to stabilize the bolivar and curb inflation by managing exchange rates and limiting currency flows. These measures aim to prevent excessive depreciation, control import costs, and reduce inflationary pressures.
So for our recommendations, we would like to address the multifaceted economic challenges facing Venezuela. A strategic approach is required. This involves fostering partnership, seeking international support, and implementing effective economic policies. Here, we outline actionable recommendations to pave the way for economic recovery and long-term stability. For our first recommendation, we would suggest to build regional partnership. Venezuela should offer opportunities for partnership and cooperation. By encouraging trade partnerships, Venezuela can create mutually beneficial relationships that promote the exchange of goods, services, and resources. They can easily do that because they have the opportunities as they are sharing borders and socioeconomic interdependence with other countries in the region. For example, Venezuela's oil reserves can support energy needs in the region while benefiting from agriculture imports from neighboring countries. Thus, trading in region also allows both parties to grow. For example, market expansion. By trading with regional partners, Venezuela can diversify its economy, reduce reliance on violent international markets, and access a broader consumer base. For our second recommendation, we would have to say is another crucial step for Venezuela is addressing its economic and social challenges is to actively seek international support. Firstly, Venezuela should seek international support as the crisis that they have had significant international implications. Seeking support from international organizations such as the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, or the World Bank can provide the expertise and funding needed to implement these changes. Finally, Venezuela should consider seeking support and assistance in areas such as economic reform, institution building, and humanitarian aid. Our last recommendation is to implement effective economic policy. To address this issue, the Venezuelan government needs to implement effective and stable economic policies, including monetary and fiscal policies, as well as address the root causes of unemployment such as underdevelopment, lack of infrastructure, and political instability. Lastly, targeted job creation programs, particularly for the youth, and improving access to quality education can contribute to reducing unemployment rates in the country. Governments should create specific programs designed to generate employment opportunities, especially for young people who often face higher unemployment rates. In conclusion, economic issues are fundamental to society, and they involve a wide range of opportunities and difficulties that influence a country's financial development and well-being. These problems are numerous and complex. Throughout our report, we chose one country, which is Venezuela, to detect and research their economic issues. Petroleum extraction and production form the backbone of Venezuela's economy. However, economic issues as inflation are still circling in this country. The reasons for inflation issues for Venezuela is careless and irresponsible management of the economic in Venezuela. The inflation is caused by cost and demand for their market production. In addition, Venezuela is still trying to deal with economic problems in their respective countries.
Come along.